Welcome to another edition of Green is Good, and we're so honored to have with us today Dell Sroufe. He's the author of the amazing and famous book, Forks Over Knives, and the new book, Better Than Vegan. Welcome to Green is Good. Dell.
Hi, how are you today?
Oh, we're great. We're great. We're so thankful for you to come on today. And before we get into talking about your new book, Better Than Vegan, and, of course, the great work you're doing at Wellness Forum Foods, Dell, share a little bit about Dell's journey, Dell Sroufe's journey, and how you got here and you know, what led to this platform that you're working in now.
Sure. Well, you know, it's interesting when people ask you what do you want to do when you grow up. I never thought that I'd end up being a chef, let alone a vegan chef.
Right.
I've been cooking since I was a kid, though. I started cooking when I was 8 years old, but of course I cooked the standard American diet, leading to a lifetime of bad eating habits and yo-yo dieting. I actually was attending business school at Ohio State University and dropped out to go to work for a little vegetarian restaurant looking for management experience and something different to do. And I ended up being there 8.5 years, and over that 8.5 years, I not only became vegan, but decided to open up my own vegan bakery.
Wow.
And in 1997, I opened a vegan bakery, became vegan myself, of course, and then proceeded to work myself crazy, and not only to work myself crazy, but to gain over 200 pounds, eating a diet that was vegan, yes, but unhealthy, too, and full of processed foods and white flour and sugar and oil and all of that. So that led me to eventually getting to a point of where I weighed 475 pounds.
Whoa.
And at 475 pounds, life is really, really hard. I eventually closed my business because I was just tired. And I started a personal chef service, a vegan personal chef service here in Columbus, and I delivered meals to clients around town. And eventually I got to the place where I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I came to the Wellness Forum. I'd been making product for them since 1999, and I came to the Wellness Forum and I said, I need some help. And I started on our program. I took our 10-hour class on health and wellness and proceeded to change my way of eating and my way of thinking about food. I've lost well over 200 pounds and well on my way to losing the last 50 pounds and getting myself in shape.
That is a very inspiring story and really a good one. And that brings up a really important point that's not spoken enough. Talk a little bit about eating vegan doesn't really always have to mean eating healthy. Explain that push-pull with regards to veganism and sometimes the false hope that it gives people if they're not watching all the other markers in their life.
Well, and what you have to realize is that the marketing machine that is processed foods has taken hold in the vegan world too. So we can eat vegan sausage and we can eat vegan burgers and we can eat vegan ice cream and potato chips, and beer is vegan, one of my favorite foods, and all that. Then there are high-fat plant foods that are healthy, but in excess quantities are not healthy. So you know, it's easy to fall into that trap, and a lot of people do, changing out their healthy or unhealthy eating habits for unhealthy vegan eating habits.
Right.
You know, and that's what happens far too often. Wow. And that's what happened to me.
Interesting. And so talk a little bit about, there's a lot of people out there that are very interested in moving towards veganism. I see it every day. I'm a vegan. My family, my wife and children are vegans. Talk a little bit about why people, like the science behind, why make the change to whole foods and a plant-based diet nowadays?
Well, if you look at the amazing work that T. Colin Campbell did in the China study and the research that's been going on and not only him, Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, Dr. Neil Bernard, even our own Dr. Pam Popper here at the Wellness Forum, we are seeing that people are falling off of the medical wheel and seeing that the medical wheel isn't working for them. It's not curing them. All it's doing is managing their diseases. Right. And when you get sick and tired of that, and when you see that happening over and over and over again, you've got to think of something else to do. And I think this has just been kind of an obvious choice because, one, it's based on sound science. The sound science of eating well is people, when you look at the movie Forks Over Knives, for example, and you see all the science in that movie, and people are like, oh, my God, it's right here in front of me. So it's kind of an easy choice for some people.
And you are the author or co-author of Forks Over Knives, correct?
The cookbook, yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the great cookbooks, vegan cookbooks out there. So for our listeners out there who haven't had the opportunity yet, please watch the movie and get that cookbook, because I've given out that cookbook to more people, and more people said that has helped them transition more than any other book I've given them. So my hat's off to you, and I'm so honored to have you on today, Dell, because I didn't know you were the co-author, but thank you for that book. That book is so important. I mean, so important.
It's a great book, and I think it really shows people that you can not only eat healthy, but eat well.
Yeah.
I love good food, and I think that I try to show that in my cookbooks and my recipes, and I think people are responding to that.
What are you seeing? I know you're friends and partners with Dr. Pam Popper, who's been on this show now twice. What are some of the benefits by eating a plant-based diet? What can our listeners expect to happen as they transition their lifestyle and their diet over? What happens to a person?
Well, whether you are overweight or not, one of the things I think people see at first is weight loss, getting rid of the excess body fat, which is a great thing because body fat is a precursor to all kinds of diseases. Right. You see more energy. Right. That's an easy one. Right. You stop counting calories and managing this little wheel of dieting. You focus on a dietary pattern of eating starchy foods and beans and grains and fresh vegetables and fresh fruits and staying away from high-fat foods and all of those. And then other than that, you just eat well. So it's not about starvation and it's not about deprivation. It's about eating. You eat to fuel the body. You gain energy. You quit managing disease. That's a big one. We quit managing disease. So I don't go to the doctor once a month to check in on my blood pressure. I reduce my risk for all of those diseases. All of those diseases that we talk about. I mean, it's too powerful to ignore. And I've seen it in this business. I've been with the Wellness Forum for almost 7 years now, and I've seen people walk in the door, sick and diseased, and then walk out, eventually gaining their health back and just being so happy to be living their life again.
For our listeners who just joined us, we're honored to have Dell Sroufe with us today. He is the author of Forks Over Knives and his new book, Better Than Vegan, and you could find Dell at wellnessforumfoods.com, wellnessforumfoods.com. Dell, talk a little bit about your new book, Better Than Vegan. I'm on your website now. I'm looking at the book. What is, to you, why did you write this book, and what does the title mean, Better Than Vegan?
Well, it goes back to the fact that you can eat a vegan diet and still not be healthy if you're eating a lot of processed foods, and I learned that the hard way. There's nothing easy about weighing 475 pounds, and then there's nothing easy about getting rid of that. I still work hard at weight loss to this day, and it's something I have to work at every day. So Better Than Vegan is simply the fact that if you eat the right diet, the low, minimally processed foods, foods that are low in fat, that are low in protein, and devoid of animal protein and animal foods. If you eat the right diet, then it is better than vegan because it's really going to help you achieve optimal health. And writing the book for me was a way to share with people that, especially because we're seeing a lot of sick vegans coming into our practice. We're seeing a lot of sick vegans who are seeing some of the same diseases, overweight, diabetic, etc., that the mainstream is suffering, and they're confused, naturally confused by it. So that's part of why I wrote the book, and just to be able to tell my story and to say that, look, it is possible to achieve health, to achieve a lifestyle that is vibrant and happy, and eating the right foods is one way to do that.
And Dell, for our listeners out there, they could buy your book now on your website or, of course, at Amazon.com or other fine bookstores around the United States.
Yep, that is correct.
And, Dell, you are based in Columbus, Ohio. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So if people want to taste your delicious food, is there a place they can go to? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we have a deli case full of foods that we prepare every day, so you can stop in on 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday and pick up some lunch or dinner to take home. We deliver, and we will ship. We've shipped some of our foods frozen across the country from time to time.
Wow, that's great.
If you're in town, stop by and let us feed you some lunch.
Like I said earlier, Dell can be found at wellnessforumfoods.com. Dell, let's talk a little bit about perception and reality with regards to meat and dairy. What's bad in them, and why should they be taken out of your diet?
Well, talking about perception, we are told every day that protein is an absolute essential for our bodies, and that animal protein is key, and that dairy, we have to drink, 3 8-ounce glasses of dairy every day. We're told that. Right. We're told that by people who supposedly have our best interests in hand, and some of them do. Right. There are many well-meaning people out there who've been told the same thing and taught the same thing. The problem is it's just not true. So when you start looking at the science and when you start looking at what really goes on, we know that meat and dairy promote disease. When you get your animal consumption, and this is from the China study, when your animal consumption goes up above a certain percentage point, then you increase your risk for all of those degenerative diseases that we talk about.
Wow, and it's not true. I mean, like my experience, I haven't had the honor yet to have eaten your delicious food, and I'm going to because I come through Columbus quite often. But my experience with vegan restaurants across America, both when it comes to just the regular food that they create and also the wonderful desserts they create. You're missing nothing. You're a chef. You can create vegan food that has so much taste in it that the people are missing nothing with no meat or no dairy in it. Is that not correct?
Yeah, the misconception that vegan food is like eating tree bark is just that. It's a misperception. The simple fact is that I eat really good food. I love really good food. I have all of my life. I come from a family of really good cooks, and flavor is key. For us and our foods. It's just that flavor and healthy foods can go hand in hand and do.
Dell, the issue that you so caringly shared at the top of the show of eating too much of even a good thing and gaining weight and now being on the other side of that, losing 200 pounds successfully and continuing to monitor that and continuing to lose. Can you share some of your greatest hits and tips with our listeners? What got you ahead of the curve instead of behind the curve, even though you do know the science and even though you have the ability in your talent and your DNA to create healthy and great food? How did you get ahead of it instead of behind it now?
Well, a couple of things that I do differently now than I did before. Before, eating was just something that, when I was hungry, I grabbed what was in front of me. Now I really plan my life out to eat well. And in other words, I schedule my eating. I know what I'm going to eat at the next meal so that there's no surprises. In other words, when you're hungry and you get caught out in public and you're hungry, there aren't a lot of choices for you. So you better have a plan in mind. So I schedule my eating. I eat 6 meals a day, and then I sanitize my kitchen. So you can't walk into my kitchen and find potato chips or beer or oil or sugar or any of those processed foods that are bad for me. I don't even have flour, whole wheat or white flour, in my kitchen because I'm a baker by trade, and I can easily throw together the pancakes and the cookies and all those unhealthy things. So sanitizing your kitchen, stocking your kitchen full of healthy foods. When you have healthy foods in front of you, you're more likely to make healthier choices.
Wow.
Get plenty of rest. Tired people make not so great choices.
Got it.
Right?
Those are great tips.
Those are some good ones.
Yeah. And how about exercise? Where does exercise play a role, or at least fun time for Dell, fun time for all of us? Where does that play a role in this nutritional vegan journey?
If you had asked me 7 years ago about exercise, I've exercised off and on all my life. There are times, I used to love riding a bike. I'd ride my bike 150 miles a week. I'd go hit the trails and do a 30-mile bike ride and all of those things. I was just never consistent with it. 6 years ago, when I was weighing 475 pounds, when we talked about exercise, to me it was pain and discomfort. So there was no joy or happiness surrounding that. But we started off with where I was and did what I was able to do. I now work out with a trainer 4 days a week, plus I exercise on my own. And I've picked up one of my favorite things I'm doing right now is fitness boxing. So I'm learning how to box. I don't ever really want to hit another human being, but the amount of energy that you expend on boxing and then the strength training that goes behind that and all of those things make exercise fun. So finding something that you like to do is important, but it's also important to make sure you're getting that heart rate up, keeping it up there for about 60 minutes, and then doing plenty of good stretching as well as some strength training. All of those things come into play, and you have to have all of them to achieve optimal health.
That is great. Dell, I'm on your great website, wellnessformfoods.com. Also, you teach cooking classes. Can you share a little bit about what that's about, and how has that movement grown? How has that practice of yours grown? Are more and more people coming to you to say, please show me how to cook healthy foods? Yeah,
I think that the big thing that people wake up and realize is once they learn the science, then they have to put it into practice. So that's what our business teaches, is helps people to put it into practice, and our cooking classes are just one extension of that. So learning to put some recipes into your collection that are healthy, again, it goes along with that whole planning organizing thing of having something ready and available to go. So if you don't know what to cook, most likely you're going to fall back on the old bad habit. So our cooking classes are fun. We do one or two a month, and they do a variety of different themes, and we do everything from like soups, stir fries, pasta dishes, etc. We're doing a whole grain bread making class coming up here one day soon, and I think people enjoy them because it's fun for them. It's fun to have the light bulb go on, to see that actually they can do this and that it actually tastes good. So they're growing well. More and more people are signing up for our classes. I do a wine and dine, where and I'm going to hear about this, but we bring a bottle of wine and we'll do a 4-course meal.
Wow.
So a bottle of wine is a treat.
Right.
It's not an everyday thing, but it's a treat. And then we do a healthy meal surrounding that, and those are very popular. We've had 50 or 60 people show up for those. And not everybody brings wine, but some people do.
And for our listeners now, there are great vegan alcohols and vegan wines to enjoy for special events.
Yeah, and let me just say, it's really important to distinguish between, this isn't about deprivation again. Every now and then I have a piece of chocolate cake. I actually decided not to have cake for my birthday this year because I just didn't want to go that route.
Right.
But every now and then you have a piece of cake, but it's not something that you eat every day or even once a week. It's a special treat, and it's a special occasion kind of thing. The same thing with wine or any other kind of treat like that.
I'm with you on that. We're down to the last 3 minutes or so, and I just want to ask a couple more quick questions. Fact or fiction, cooking vegan's more expensive than just cooking regular processed food?
No, processed foods are more expensive by far, and the more that you do for yourself, the less expensive your food bill.
And more difficult or easier, vegan food, when you're showing your recipes, when you're coming up with recipes, is it more difficult to cook vegan style than traditional mac and cheese?
No.
Okay.
Not at all. I think that you'll see my recipes. You'll see a little bit of lasagna is always going to be a complicated thing to put together.
Right.
But you'll see a stir fry that can take 10 or 15 minutes to do.
Wow.
So it can be very easy.
We're down to 2 minutes. Share a simple recipe on a nutritional rich meal with our listeners right now, just to give them a little taste of Dell Sroufe.
One of my favorite recipes from the cookbook is a smoky black bean biscuit. It's a really easy recipe to do. So it's onions and garlic, and it's the canned adobe chilies and pepper sauce, and it's black beans and salt and a couple of other things I can't think of off the top of my head. And you cook your onions and you cook your garlic. You don't use oil. Add water when you need to keep them from sticking, but you may not need to. And when those are done, you add your chipotles and you add your beans in your broth and let that cook, and then you puree that. And I tell you what I love about this. Season it with salt and pepper, as you will.
Right.
I love this soup. It's a great soup, but sometimes I eat it I'll just pour it over a baked potato.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
It's full of flavor. It's a smoky, rich-tasting flavor, and it's delicious and easy. So I actually have some in my freezer, so when I just want something for entertaining or for something like that, it's one that I go to. So it's a good one. Another thing that I make hummus a lot because hummus is a 5-minute meal. And I do 5 different hummus in my cookbook just for variety, made with things like fava beans or spinach and artichoke or basil and sun-dried tomatoes and things like that. And it's a 5-minute meal. I put them in a wrap with some salad greens, and off I go.
Wow. And you could use, and like you said, and hummus is so versatile in so many ways.
Oh, yeah.
How about a quick cookie or a quick dessert? What's a quick fix for people for a special event?
Slice some bananas and put them in your freezer and keep them in a good freezer bag, and then pull out 2 bananas and throw them into a food processor with a little bit of almond milk, a pinch of stevia, and maybe some vanilla, and you have an instant ice cream.
Oh my gosh! Okay, I'm getting hungry already. All right,
that one's in the book too. That's a good one.
That's a great one. Well, listen, for our listeners out there that want to have more recipes and learn how to be better than vegan, please buy Dell's new book, Better Than Vegan. You could go buy it on his website, wellnessforumfoods.com, or of course at Amazon.com or other fine bookstores around the United States or around the world. Dell, couple other things. I just want to thank you for all the great work you're doing. I want to thank you for Forks Over Knives, and thank you for showing us a better way to eat and take care of ourselves and the planet. And Dell Sroufe, you are truly living proof that green is good.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.